Dámy a pánové, krásné
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome back at the main hall at the conference Digital Czech Republic at the 10th year of the conference. I know that even those of you who are outside this hall can hear us, so please join us here in the main hall because we will be discussing another topic of today's conference, which is cloud technologies and telecommunication as fundamental building blocks of digital transformation. Before we start discussing this topic, I would like to use this opportunity to thank all the partners, thanks to which we can meet here today. The General Policy Partner 2035, which is Google. Gold Partner is Vodafone. Silver Partners include Allegro, Meta, Bank ID, CETIN, Microsoft LPP, and I should not forget also other partners such as prg.ai, Czech Association of Artificial Intelligence, Czech Association of Extended Reality, and Holky v Metaverse. And I would also like to thank the media partners, which is INFO.CZ, Svět, průmyslu, and Ekonomický magazín. Yes, it might seem that you will find all important on the web pages of these media partners, but I'm sure that we will hear much more. The other topics that are covered, digital decade, this is how the European Commission calls its current strategy. According to this strategy, by 2030, at least 75% of companies in the EU should be utilizing cloud technologies, artificial intelligence, or engage with big data. This will necessitate investment exceeding 200 billion euro primarily on high-speed internet coverage. However, the progress has not been limited so far, and the market is still fragmented and heavily regulated. So how will cloud technologies and telecommunications fundamental to digital transformation evolve? This will learn from the following panel and from our guest. I'm just looking whether we have all the panelists present. I would like to invite to the floor Marek Novák, the Deputy of the Chamber of Deputies of the Parliament of the Czech Republic, member of the Economic Committee and chair of the Subcommittee for ICT, Telecommunication and Digital Economics. He introduced digitization also in the private sector, so welcome. Please take this seat on the edge. I would also like to welcome Violeta Luca. She is the General Director of Vodafone Czech Republic, from where she came from previously working as CEO at Microsoft for Czech Republic and Slovakia. She has been long-term focusing on development of digital skills and innovation, and Forbes included her between the most influential women of Czechia and top CEOs. Welcome. I would also like to welcome Richard Yonck. We already introduced him in English. He is an international speaker and author of bestsellers focusing on new trends and technologies. His professional interests include artificial intelligence, futurist technologies, and their impact on the society. Richard regularly gives his speeches at global conferences, and he is a leader in futuristic studies. I would also like to welcome Petr Mlsna, the chairman of the Office for Protection of Competition. Formerly, he was a deputy minister for legislation and the Minister of Interior. He also worked in the office of the Czech government, focusing on legislative matters, and he is giving lectures in the Faculty of Law of the Charles University. So welcome. So this panel will be conducted in 2 languages. That means you will need to use your headsets to listen to the interpreters.
So don't be surprised. Sometimes I'll speak English, sometimes I'll speak Czech. But our interpreters are perfect, so you'll always get all the information in the language you prefer. And I start in English because I would like that's for you who are not in the main hall yet, because we will close the door very soon. So if you want to join us, please do so as soon as possible. Violeta, I would like to start with you. Vodafone is one of the key players in building digital infrastructure. How do you see the current pace of high-speed internet and cloud service development in the Czech Republic?
Dobrý den, and thank you for having me here. I'm really honored and glad to be speaking about topics which are close to my heart and also to my job. I would love to have the same versatility switching between Czech and English, but I don't have it yet, and thank you for your attention, me speaking in English today. So, definitely, as Vodafone, we are playing a critical role alongside with the other competitors in the market to support the backbone of connectivity of the country. And I'm really proud that after more than 20 years in the country as a presence, actually 25 if I'm counting also Oscar years here, we have grew and invested in the infrastructure of the country quite heavily. We were sharing actually recently in one circle that if I am to reflect on the investment in the network and infrastructure over 5 years, we are speaking of more than 27 billion Czech crowns, which is quite a lot. But definitely if I am to reflect at the broader picture and refer to the digital decade you were mentioning in the beginning, we as Czech Republic, we are doing quite well. And if I'm comparing the evolution of our infrastructure adoption of technology in the last 5 years, we definitely see a positive trend. So we have more house connected to high-speed internet. There is a very strong 5G coverage in the country. Actually, you may know that digital decade KPIs are roughly 17. They are covering the households connected. They are covering adoption of AI, of modern technology, of data analytics, skills. They are measuring the readiness for skills, both in public but also in SMEs and in the digital government. And if I am to reflect on those KPIs, Czech Republic is actually doing very well on 5G, on AI skills, on skills overall for modern technology. So we have strong talent, strong capabilities we have built in the country, but we are lagging behind on many other dimensions. One of them being our infrastructure for the high-speed internet. Actually, it's lower than European Union and actually much lower than what we have proposed as an objective till 2030. So this is definitely an area of improvement. And as you know, to build this infrastructure, actually, it's very costly. Actually, telco industry is being recognized as having the biggest CapEx intensity out of all industries on the European space. And basically, we are definitely, all of us, all the 3 players, we are invested in the infrastructure. But if I'm looking at the number of, for instance, house connected to the fiber, we are ranging around 35%, the number of mid-2024, while the European average is around 50%. And we want to really go towards 90% in years. So this is a definite area of improvement for us. It is an opportunity as well. So wherever we have a gap, we have a way to go forward. And I am happy to see that there is strong commitment coming from the players on the market, but also from the government to support our efforts and to look how we can create more synergies and complementarities.
Thank you. Tato pauza byla, abych dala šanci.
So this pause was for the interpreters to finish interpreting into Czech, because now I would like to ask about the perspective of the Czech Union. The EU has an ambitious target, and it was already mentioned that in some KPIs Czech Republic is doing well, but in other areas we are lagging behind, such as high-speed internet connections. So what specific steps is the Czech Republic taking in order to improve the situation and to meet the set objectives? We take steps, we implement them in practice. Recently we amended the Act on telecommunications, electronic telecommunications. We introduced some important changes, such as extending the possibilities for setting up transmitter stations, zoning decisions, zoning and planning process. We had a roundtable in which all operators operating on the Czech market were involved, and with their contribution, I believe that we managed to step forward with the legislation, and now we'll see, we'll have to wait for some time what are the impacts in practice. Okay, we'll see how this new legislation is reflected in practice. We have also the representative of the regulator that supervises fair rules on the market, so I will stay speaking in Czech. Most often, the anti-monopoly office is mentioned in pressures against strong players on the market. We are discussing cloud providers or technological companies, where the dominance on the market is obvious. How to make sure that Czech and EU companies have fair conditions in competition with global players. We discussed a lot that we need to stay competitive, but what regulations should help us to stay competitive? Thank you for your question. I will start with the current state of matters in the area of cloud computing, how we see it from our perspective. 68% of all cloud services in the world globally are provided by three companies: Google, Amazon and Microsoft. That means you have 2/3 of the market, of the global market, that is dominated by three companies. This is the current state of matters which we are now facing. We want to make sure that first, smaller companies have access to the market, whether these are European companies or Czech companies. We want to make sure that innovations do not stop, because we will have just three major market players who will offer only what suits them. And also, we want to make sure to focus on the practical level. We want to punish these oligopole companies where they misuse their dominant position on the market, such as bundling of services, and by using similar approaches. So some cases have not been decided yet by the European Commission. Also, we focus on their licensing policy. For sometimes they charge high fees for someone who wants to operate their products in cloud products of their competitors. And because these companies have very big economic strengths, it is up to the regulatory offices throughout the world to actually punish or persecute the misuse of the rules. In the Czech Republic, we do not decide only about the Czech market, because here the European Commission has the necessary powers, and cloud computing is one of the issues that is supervised by the European Commission. Sometimes, of course, we see that, in fact, companies misuse European Commission to conduct a fight against their competitors. We may have a look at a case where Microsoft agreed with Cisco. They signed an agreement, but Google in 2024 filed a complaint with the European Commission, saying that the Microsoft is trying to misuse its dominant position on the market and is not supporting interoperability. This case has not been resolved yet, and we could continue along these lines with other cases. The European Commission, I think, decided rightly to use ex ante regulation, because if we wanted to use only ex post way, that means if we decided to impose sanctions only at the too late in the process, where the market is rigid already, it would be too late. I think that breakthrough was DMA. It is now copied by Japan, by the United States. You set up rules for the gatekeepers that they have to comply with, and this allows also small local companies, innovative companies, to actually participate in the competition. Another thing is a Data Act, the data about data. This defines some technical rules, some technical principles such as that transferred from one cloud to another cloud should be enabled. Basically, at the moment, this is a problem from the perspective of the anti-monopoly law, and also some technological standards will be set up at the level by the European Commission to ensure technologically the possibility to use other vendors' solution in combination with existing cloud solutions. So this is the way we go.
This will be a question for you, because I'm wondering how a futurist like you, what he thinks when he hears about all the regulation, all the rules, all the investment needed, because you see the future as a really rich, I don't know, platform for all the ideas, but it's limited by our human beings. Where do you see that the digital infrastructure will be in 10 years, in the next decade?
Great question. Thank you, Michala. I think that when we look out 10 years, we're probably, I would hope, going to have a lot of the interoperability issues, a lot of the sharing across the cloud into a form of super cloud, essentially, resolved. Because in so many respects, this makes the system that much more resilient. And that ultimately is one of the things that we all need to be working toward. We are becoming more and more reliant on all of this all of the time. If you're reliant on a single system and it goes down, you need to have some form of recovery. Besides that, we're moving more and more into a very, very distributed format where we have so much more going on at the edge, where edge computing, eventually, increasingly, IoT, Internet of Things, is utilizing this increasingly decentralized system in order to reduce latency, in order to be able to have the immediacy of the processing on site, allows us to kind of see a vast, still network, but that increasingly we are reliant on the idea that there has to be cross-interoperability across all these systems. So I would hope that that would be resolved by that time. 10 years is not that long. I mean, sorry, I thought you were going to say 50 years or something, but I don't know where that's going to go yet. So I hope that answers your question.